And that goes into what the VA requires of veterans buying a multi-unit property,
It's just an important give back.
buy multiple properties. If they're disabled, they get their funding fee waived and they can get their property taxes modified.
Wow. Because I had just talked to a vet client of mine.
Yep.
He's buying another house using his VA loan. And the first house that he bought at 305, 305,000. And so right now with the entitlement, depending on county, what's the entitlement up?
Well, that it's based on the county
Yeah.
and then looking at their entitlement against their loan that they currently have, and then it's a calculation.
Okay. So if you were to guess, let's say the 7 county metro area in the Twin City.
VA entitlement,
Yeah.
probably eight,
800,000.
probably.
Yeah, that's incredible. So if this guy bought his house at 305, still about 500,000 left on.
Yeah, it could be because the one I did in here in Goodhue County,
Yeah.
when I did the calculation, I tried to look for that sheet, by the way, and I think it got left on my Loan Depot computer, but I'll be able to get it again. When I did the one here in Red Wing, so Goodhue County, after I did the math, he had purchased the $300,000 home, and he still had like 416,000 left of his VA benefit to use for his entitlement. And how that works then as well, let's say he wanted to buy 500,000.
Yeah.
He could totally do that using the VA loan. He would just then be required to come up with the down payment for anything that's over and above what his entitlement or his remaining entitlement is.
Yeah.
So that cap, that is something that you really want to be clear on,
Yeah.
is that cap doesn't mean, well, now you can only buy a house for 416,000 and under.
Yeah.
That's not true. You can buy as much as you want. Just know that this is your VA limit.
Yeah.
And so if you want to buy above and beyond that, then yeah, you gotta make up the difference. So like maybe a smaller example would be for this guy in Red Wing here, $300,000 home. He still has 416 left on his entitlement. He wants to buy something for 425,000. All good. Just now you got to come in with the extra $9,000, but you can still use your VA loan.
So the down so is it so that $9,000, do I have to come up with $9,000 or is it a
Yep.
portion of that?
No, it's $9,000.
So if I had, let's say for example, I'm just gonna use just gonna use 800,000
That
for the number. Yeah, and because I think that that's about what it is for a single family house here in Dakota County, Washington County, Rams, right about that number. So if he had bought a house at 300,000, let's say 5 years ago, and now he only owes 250, are they going off the 300 or are they going off the 250 what he owes?
it's a good question.
Ooh,
I
that's
think it's based off I don't know for sure. I would assume they don't know what someone owes when you do the calculation, unless it's something you pull up
oh,
off
that's
of
okay.
a credit report.
But okay, so
So
then let's say the 300, and so then if the entitlement is 800, and they bought something at 300, the entitlement that's left is 500. They can buy
yeah,
up to that at zero down. But if the house that they want to buy is 600, you're saying that they got to come up with the other 100,000.
yep,
Okay, that's what I
yeah,
want
exactly.
to check. But you can have
The
that all combined together and under one entitlement.
Yeah, you can.
Does that
100%.
does that change if it's like a 4 unit?
No, it's just pure on what's your eligibility. What do you have left?
Okay, because I saw one piece that showed that I ran one in one county and the entitlement was 805, and I realized it adjusts specifically to that person, but he had an 805 entitlement, but up to 1.1 million on a 4 unit.
Well, yes, if you're asking does it, your entitlement does vary based on the unit
Yeah.
or number of units. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's just whatever you're eligible left to use is my understanding, but I should double check that. It's been a while since I've had to look that one up. Typically, the reason why, or it's always the reason why, is because when you first start working with veterans, they don't understand that they can do this for one. So you kind of explain it to them,
Yeah.
but they forget unless you're telling them, and I've experienced, it's not every veteran, of course, right? But I've experienced that when a veteran gets a loan using their VA, you might tell them some stuff up front, right? But they forget. And so they don't think about, oh, I could use my house as an investment property now and then go buy and live in something else and have two or three. You can have multiple properties with the VA loan. So why I say that is because it doesn't come up in my business very often that a veteran wants to do that.
Okay.
They're just happy they have their house. And then when they call me back in a few years or whatever, they're like, I want to buy a new house. I'm going to sell my house. Can I still use my VA loan? Right. So
Well,
they
that's
might
a
want to
good.
buy something else earlier. They just don't think they can.
Well, so asking that question, what's the guideline on if I bought a house today using my VA loan, let's say 300,000, and it's 2025, February 13th, 2025. How long before because it's got to be owner occupied. How long do I have to stay in that owner occupied before I can use the VA loan again? Maybe buy another $300,000 house.
Yeah. It's 1 year.
Okay, so in February 14th, I can close of 2026, I can close on a second house.
Right. And you can do it sooner. That is something you can do, but you gotta show why. There has to be a good reason why you just bought a new house and 6 months later you want to buy another one? Like what's
Oh,
going
so
on here?
if it's less than a year, then there's got to be a letter of explanation.
Yeah, probably more than a little letter of explanation. They're gonna want to see how many miles away this is. Is it
Gotcha.
because you got maybe you went active again, you're getting deployed,
Okay.
you transferred, like we how many veterans have we helped that moved up to here or North Dakota? I've done a lot in North Dakota, people moving from all over the country to come here because they're in the military, right?
Yeah.
So those people, if they own a house, let's say they just bought a house, all of a sudden a job comes up, military job that is 5 states away, but they're like, wow, this is the opportunity. But I bought this house 6 months ago. The VA is going to be okay with you if you are moving 5 states away because of a job opportunity. That just makes sense. And you're
Yeah.
not trying to pull one over on the VA, right?
Yeah.
Because what they're concerned about is occupancy fraud. And it's not just the VA that's concerned about occupancy fraud. Every loan program out there is trying to pay attention to that
Okay.
and watch for it because people would buy a primary residence with no intent of ever living there.
Okay.
That being said, though, I mean, you can show your as a military service member, you just show your orders, plain and simple.
Well,
Here,
that's a great question because I know we talk a lot about the VA in the terms of veteran, but this is definitely something that we've used in the past for active.
yeah, the last three VA loans I did were all active duty service members.
Yeah.
One guy was moving from Michigan to North Dakota. We had our guy that would he come from Tennessee
Yep.
here to
Yep.
Minnesota. And then there was another one prior to that. I forget where he came from. But yeah, active military members, this happens to them. Get a promotion or a much better job opens up that they want to do in the military. They get it, but just means they got to move states.
So with the active duty, there's BAH, basic housing allowance, right? So how does that affect the process?
It helps it, doesn't affect it.
How so?
Well, it depends what they're going to be getting for it
Yeah.
and what they're actually going to be using it for. There was one instance I was able to use it as income,
Okay.
or actually that's quite a bit. What was the deal on his? I can't remember because I used it on Charles. We were able to use his housing benefit as part of his income.
Yeah.
to help them qualify for the loan.
Okay.
And I apologize, I've been sick, so I can't remember if there's a specific instance with that or if it's in their orders of what they get. I mean, it was all documented. When he sent it, it showed what he was getting, how long he was getting it for.
So how long do the orders have to be in place for that to count for active duty? Or even like the AGRs, the guardsmen who have been
Well, in what way? Like for a full-time?
yeah, the full-time guardsmen.
Usually their orders are going to say how long they're stationed there. I haven't had the VA ever come back and say, well, this guy, I mean, they're not buying a house if their orders, they're only going to be there for 6 months or a year anyway,
Yeah.
right? Most of the time when you see those orders come through, there's going to be a 3 to 5 year, if not longer, well, not probably, but they're going to be there for a few years.
Okay.
Typically, at least a few years. That's typically what I have experienced, anyways. It could be. I'm not in the military, so I don't know for sure. But in my experience, the orders don't say any type of end date that I've seen. Your orders are to report here at such and such date and to start your job. That's it.
That's what you're looking.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't really indicate any type of end date.
So one of the things that I came across, I was talking to somebody or talking to a vet about buying a Ford unit, and this had come across with another client who was buying Ford unit but using FHA. And the question I or there's a term called rental sustainability test or something like
That's
that.
FHA.
What is that?
So in an FHA loan, a rental, that test is they need to make sure this is anytime it's above 2 units. So 3 and 4 units. Duplex, they don't care. 3 and 4 unit, what they're going to look at is the net rent schedule, and they need to see that the triplex or the fourplex can sustain itself on just rent.
Okay. And does
No
that
income.
apply? Does that apply for a VA loan?
No, it does not. VA loan gets a little bit trickier. Yeah, I mean, the other units, like they can't be super cheap if if the house is expensive, the units can't rent for super cheap, right?
Yeah.
If they do, you're
Market.
screwed. And that goes into what the VA requires of veterans buying a multi-unit property, whether it's a duplex to a fourplex. They are going to ask if you have landlord experience, and it has to be documented.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean if you've never owned a rental property before, it doesn't mean that you can't buy a 2, 3, or 4 unit. It just means you will have to hire a management company to run your rental property for you. Then you have to show how much that management company charges to make sure that you're still qualifying debt to income wise. Now, I have had some real estate agents that does qualify as property management as long as there's a contract in place showing what the realtor will do acting as the management. Assuming the realtor wants to do that, they might not have any experience in it and be like, heck no, I'm not doing that. There's a lot of I know a lot of real estate agents, you included, who manage rental properties too. So that sometimes can be a nice way to help a veteran get into a multi-unit property if they have a good relationship with their real estate agent, especially.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes complete sense.
It's a good one. Some people don't like it, but it is what it is. I can't change it. Can you change what the VA wants? I know I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of that, with that entitlement, I know we talked a little bit about the entitlement and having more than one property using that same entitlement. So
Yep.
if I'm a disabled veteran and I'm receiving 10% or more
Yep.
for
The funding fee?
service disability, yeah, then my funding fee is waived. Does that
Yep.
apply on the second one as well, or the third one
Yeah.
covers with however many I have underneath that?
If you're disabled, you're disabled, man.
Okay.
The VA is not going to charge that to any service related disability that a veteran or well, they suppose they wouldn't be active if they're disabled, but any veteran that we have. What people oftentimes confuse the VA funding fee for
Yeah.
They think it's because it's some sort of mortgage insurance
Oh,
that goes on to the loan or something, and that's not it. That funding fee is charged so that when a veteran does have a disability, they don't have to charge it to them
okay.
because veterans that are not are being charged the funding fee, and the funding fee just helps to pay for the program.
Okay.
That's what it
Gotcha.
helps cover costs, all the
All the
stuff that
stuff.
goes into what the VA has to do in order to help veterans get into homes. The VA funding fee helps fund the VA.
Okay.
That's why they're able to use part of that. If a veteran is disabled, they can waive that,
Got it.
which I think is, I mean, whoever made this VA loan with the features that it have, if the government could nail the VA loan, they should be able to nail so many other things. It's such a good loan. Why can't they do that across everything, right?
Yep. I hear you. I hear you. There's a lot of that going on right now too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
let's
So yeah,
see.
it's a
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, ultimately I mean, this is why we're talking about it, is because it's just an important give back.
absolutely. And tell you what, I know any veteran that talks to you or me, they're going to know what they can do with the VA loan.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with like property tax,
Yeah.
when we were talking about the property tax, and that can apply, I think that can apply to some of these 4 units too, right? Because it's
Yeah.
homestead, because you
As long
live
as it's
there.
homestead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get the county to waive your taxes,
Up to, yeah, depending on your service level.
depending on your disability. Yeah.
There goes the
Right.
there goes the fast talk lawyer.
Yeah, no
The
kidding. Dude, I had
disclosure.
one guy was scheduled to pay it was about $4,000 a year in taxes, but because of the level of disability that he had, which was 100%,
Yeah.
his annual property taxes on this house were $100.
Yeah.
$100 a year.
That's crazy. Well, let me ask you this, because I had this happen before. And so looking to see how we go about that and how it affects the pre-approval amount. So we had a scenario where the veteran was pre-approved for 300,000 and the houses we were looking for were under 300,000. And because of his 100% disability in the 7 county metro area, all the counties, so long as it's homesteaded, then his the 300,000 that the counties mitigate on the county assessed value, it actually wiped out all his property tax, right?
That's outstanding.
Yeah, so he actually had $0 that he was paying out in his property tax. And because he met that, his pre-approval amount actually improved because they
Yeah, of course.
wipe that out. What do you need to see for something like that?
Something
So,
from the county, we have to document it.
okay,
So if the veteran gets purchase agreement and they go to their county and the county can make that adjustment and document what the scheduled taxes will be,
yeah.
we can use it.
So now their buying power just moved up.
It changes.
Yeah,
Yep,
because if you're wiping out $300 a month in tax, that's a lot more buying power.
it is. Yeah, it's a lot more buying power. So again, just another way to help the veterans. They can buy multiple properties. If they're disabled, they get their funding fee waived and they can get their property taxes modified to
Modified.
a much lesser amount or zero.
Yeah, that's outstanding. He even walked in, or he had signed a waiver so that way the escrow piece wouldn't even show up on his payment.
Yeah, nice. It's good. I like that. I'm sorry I'm sick. Man, I'm trying to get through this.
Well, I'll tell you
It's
what, we're at the end anyway. So, any final thoughts, any parting words?
well, I would say that if you know a veteran that's struggling with this stuff, share this video with them, or if you're a veteran, share it with your other veterans so they know there are people out there. A veteran like himself, Isaac Contreras, you salty dog.
Yeah.
I am not a veteran, but I do a lot of VA and I love it. And even if I don't get a loan from a veteran, just talking to a veteran and telling them how good the benefit of a VA loan can be for them. That's what it's about.
Right. I can dig it. I can dig it.
Reach out, vets. Let's go. Let's build some wealth for the veterans.
Sir. Yes, sir.
That's how they got to do it, baby.
All right. That's what I got.